When Breath Becomes Air, Paul Kalanithi. This is literary memoir with a clear, steady voice, set inside modern hospital training and the private space of a young doctor facing limits. The reason this belongs on a doctor's list is simple. It captures what medicine feels like from the inside without turning the reader into a spectator. You get the long hours and the quiet routines. You also get the tension between clinical language and human meaning. The book is short, but it lingers because it treats reading as a way to think, not a way to collect facts. It is also unusually beginner-friendly. It does not require a science background. It shows how doctors learn to speak carefully, and why that carefulness can sometimes sound cold. It also explains why many clinicians read and write to keep their sense of self intact. If you want one book that makes the profession feel real, start here, then use the rest of this list to choose your next angle. Notice how it balances technical precision with plain language. It never assumes you know medical terms, and it never uses jargon to create distance. That combination makes it a strong first pick for almost any reader, even if you usually avoid healthcare books. Being Mortal, Atul Gawande. This is practical nonfiction with a reflective tone, set in clinics, nursing homes, and family conversations where choices matter more than procedures. If you are curious about what doctors struggle with after the diagnosis is clear, this is the cleanest place to start. The book is about end-of-life care, but it is really about goals and trade-offs. It explains how medical training can prioritize fixing problems even when fixing is not possible. It also shows how good care can look like listening, planning, and protecting quality of life. The value for readers is that it reduces fear and confusion. It offers a calm vocabulary for hard topics. That makes it useful even if you are not in a crisis. If you want a book that changes how you talk about aging, serious illness, and dignity, this one tends to have the highest real-world impact. It is also a strong audiobook for steady, clear pacing. Complications. Atul Gawande. This is essay-driven narrative nonfiction, set in operating rooms and teaching hospitals where learning happens in public and uncertainty is unavoidable. The focus is not heroism. The focus is the ordinary difficulty of doing complex work with a human body. Each chapter explores a specific kind of problem: mistakes, limits of knowledge, the gap between textbook certainty and real patience. The tone is honest and methodical, which is why it builds trust. It also makes a useful companion to more emotional memoirs, because it explains the professional mindset. You learn why doctors sometimes sound cautious. You also learn why medicine relies on checklists, teams, and habits. This is one of the best picks if you enjoy thoughtful reporting that still reads like a story. It is also a good fit if you want to understand medicine without being pushed toward a single moral conclusion. It respects complexity and keeps its language grounded. This Is Going to Hurt, Adam K. This is diary-style memoir with dark humor, set in a busy hospital where exhaustion and bureaucracy shape every shift. The reading experience is fast and sharply observed. Many people pick it up for laughs and then realize it is also a serious document about working conditions. Humor here is not decoration. It is a coping strategy. The book is ideal if you want an entry point that feels accessible, but still teaches you something real about modern healthcare. It also works as a contrast book. After reading it, calmer titles like Being Mortal often feel even more grounded, because you understand the system stress behind the scenes. If you are sensitive to harsh workplace stories, pace it in short sessions. The tone can be blunt, but the core value is clarity about what a shift-based job can do to attention, sleep, and empathy. If you work in any high-pressure service job, you will recognize the pattern of empathy under time limits. That recognition is what makes the book useful beyond medicine. It also explains why small failures in a system can cascade into human consequences, even when people are trying to do their best. The Emperor of All Maladies, Siddhartha Mukherjee. This is long-form narrative history of medicine, set across laboratories, hospitals, and public health debates as cancer research and treatment evolve over decades. If you like books that explain how we got here, this is the most ambitious pick on the list. It is sometimes called a biography of cancer because it treats the disease as a moving target shaped by biology, politics, funding, and culture. The writing is clear, but the scope is large. Plan on reading it like a series rather than a single sprint. The reward is perspective. Treatments that seem sudden or confusing start to look like the endpoint of many failed ideas, small wins, and changing definitions. This is a strong choice for readers who want to feel informed, but it is still readable for non-specialists because it frames scientific progress as a human story of persistence and revision. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, Rebecca Skloot. This is investigative narrative nonfiction, set at the intersection of a family story, medical research, and long-running ethical questions about consent and benefit. If you want a doctor's book that is also a science and society book, start here. The book explains how a single set of cells influenced modern medicine. It also shows how people can be erased when institutions focus only on results. The tone is careful and respectful. It avoids easy villains and instead shows systems. That makes it useful for readers who want to think clearly about medical progress without turning it into a simple morality play. It is also a strong pick if you are interested in how trust in healthcare is built or broken. You do not need a science background because the writing explains what matters at the human level first, then adds the medical context in plain language. Cutting for Stone, Abraham Verghese. This is literary fiction with a patient, immersive style, set across hospitals and communities where medicine is both a profession and a social force. If you want a doctor's book that feels like a full novel rather than nonfiction, this is the best entry. The medical detail is present, but it serves atmosphere and character rather than technical instruction. The experience is expansive. You spend time with training, with hospital rhythms, and with the way a calling can shape a life. It is also a good pick if you want a warmer emotional arc than many nonfiction titles provide. Read it slowly. Let the setting and the clinical routines build the sense of place. This is the book on the list that can pull in readers who usually avoid nonfiction but still want to understand the world of care from the inside. When Breath Becomes Air, Paul Kalanithi. Use this book as your baseline for tone, then choose your next step based on what you want medicine to mean in your reading life. If you want decision-making and care priorities, go to Being Mortal. If you want what training feels like when certainty breaks down, go to Complications. If you want humor that reveals strain, go to This Is Going to Hurt. If you want the big picture of research and progress, go to The Emperor of All Maladies. If you want ethics and consent framed through a real human context, go to The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. If you want a story that gives you the hospital world through fiction, go to Cutting for Stone. This approach keeps you from forcing one book to do every job. It also keeps you from picking the longest title first and then stalling. Think of this list as a set of lenses. Each lens highlights a different part of medicine. That makes the overall reading experience calmer and more useful, because you are choosing with intention instead of curiosity alone. Being Mortal, Atul Gawande. If you are reading as a family member or caregiver, this is the anchor, and it changes how you read the other books. It gives you language for values, independence, comfort, time, trade-offs. With that language, stories that might feel like tragedy become conversations about choices. This matters because many medical books create awe or fear. This one creates steadiness. It also helps you identify which parts of healthcare are personal and which are structural. That distinction makes it easier to ask better questions and to notice when a system is pushing you toward default options. After Being Mortal, memoirs like When Breath Becomes Air often feel clearer because you understand the stakes behind clinical decisions, and books like The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks land harder because the ethics are no longer abstract. If you want one title that improves real conversations, choose this one first. The Emperor of All Maladies, Siddhartha Mukherjee. Some viewers want one heavy book that makes them feel informed, and this is the one, but it helps to set expectations. The experience is closer to a long documentary than a memoir. You will meet ideas and eras, not a single continuous storyline. Read it in segments. Treat chapters like standalone episodes. If you are an audio listener, consider faster playback for dense sections and normal speed for narrative stretches. The key value is that it explains why medicine moves slowly. It shows the gap between what we can measure and what we can control. It also makes modern debates about screening and treatment feel less like opinion and more like a history of trade-offs. If you want to pair it with something shorter, read When Breath Becomes Air alongside it. That combination gives you both the macro story of progress and the micro experience of a clinician making meaning. Complications, Atul Gawande. To close this list, remember the goal. These are not textbooks. They are reading experiences that make medicine legible without turning it into spectacle. If you want a short entry point, start with When Breath Becomes Air. If you want the most useful framework for real-life decisions, read Being Mortal. If you want to understand how doctors learn and why uncertainty is normal, read Complications. If you want humor that still respects the work, read This Is Going to Hurt. If you want the long view of research and treatment, read The Emperor of All Maladies. If you want an ethics and consent lens, read The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. If you want fiction that feels grounded, read Cutting for Stone. If you want one reading plan, do 3 steps. Read When Breath Becomes Air first. Then read Being Mortal. Then choose either Complications for training and judgment or The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks for ethics and research. The full breakdown and the best match for your mood is summarized in the full video description.